Hello students, it's Dr. Z again. It's so good to be with you. It's been a long time since we've been together. I hope you're doing well. My teachers, or your teachers, your teachers have been telling me that you're studying weather, which is a really interesting subject because, you know, the weather is so important to our whole life. We plan our lives kind of around the weather in many cases. And I would like to talk to you about a specific area of weather, and we're going to do an interesting couple experiments about weather. And what I want to talk to you about is something called weathering and erosion, okay? And you can think of weathering and erosion as kind of a way in which nature or the weather in general around our whole planet kind of sculpts the surface of our planet. Weathering and erosion will move big pieces of the earth from one place to another. It will take big mountains and make them small mountains. It will cut big pieces out of the earth. So weathering and erosion over a long period of time is something that's very important to our lives. So let's talk a little bit about it. Weathering. What is weathering? Well, you can think about it kind of as breaking things down. Think of it as a hammer, you know, like nature's hammer is weathering. It takes big things and makes small things out of them. It will take big mountains and make small mountains out of them. And it will take that mountain and turn it into small rocks, and eventually those small rocks can turn into soil. So our soil that we grow our food in actually is part of this weathering process. And what causes weathering? Well, a number of things. Water in the form of rain is a big factor in weathering. Also ice. It's interesting that ice can cause so much damage and break big rocks into small rocks. You know how it does that? Well, if you got a big rock and the rain comes down and there are little cracks that you can hardly see in the big rocks, and the water gets down in there, and then when it gets really cold, that water freezes, and as you know, it turns into ice. And here's an interesting thing about ice. When water freezes and turns to ice, it expands, it gets bigger. And when that water in those cracks is freezing, it actually can push the rock aside and crack it. And actually, that happens over and over again, so that those big rocks are becoming little rocks, and then eventually they become our soil. What else causes weathering? Well, winds. The strong winds can work on stone and mountains and slowly but surely wear them down and go from big mountains to small mountains. Okay, that's weathering. How about erosion? Well, think about erosion as something that takes away all of that stuff that was created by weathering. Okay, once weathering takes big things, breaks it down into small things, erosion then will move that stuff around. And what causes erosion? Well, of course, again, water with rivers or flooding will move stones, rocks, dirt from one place to another. And also the wind, of course, will blow the dirt and will also wear down and blow away the rocks from mountains or big rocks. So we have weathering and erosion then working kind of like a sculptor to change the surface of our earth, okay? So weathering and erosion can be kind of a good thing sometimes because it creates beautiful things. like you may have heard of the Grand Canyon. It's a big slice in the earth, and that was all caused by erosion. And it's a beautiful thing to see. But on the other hand, erosion can be bad because if you don't protect against erosion, like from the wind and water and rain and rivers, it can move lots and lots of dirt to places that you don't want it, and move that dirt away from places where you may want it, where you may want it to grow things. Erosion can cause that dirt to move away, and you're not able to grow your food or plants anymore. So erosion can be a problem. But there is a way that we can protect against erosion, and I have set up an experiment for you today in which we're going to look at, kind of demonstrate erosion and how you might protect against it. So what do I have here? I have 3 bottles. These are pop bottles, you know, you buy at the store. And I emptied out all the pop, and I cut a piece out of the bottle so that now this is open. And what I did was I went into my garden and I took some dirt, plain old ordinary dirt. And this stuff is good because you can grow all your plants and vegetables and things in this dirt. And you want this in your garden, right, to growing. But we're going to see how the process of erosion using, we're going to pretend we have rainwater, can actually move this dirt around, turn it into mud, and that's not a good thing because then it makes a big mess, and we want to try to protect against that. So I have 2 things here that people often use to protect against erosion. One of them is called mulch. You may have some of this in your backyard, and all it is big pieces of bark from trees or ground up trees, and sometimes it can be even ground up leaves. And what I did was I took a second bottle, I put some more dirt down, and then on top of the dirt I put the mulch. So we're going to see if mulch can protect against the erosion, the movement of our soil during rain. And finally here, I took a big piece of grass out of my garden, out of my yard, and I put that into the bottle. And as you know, below the grass, there's a lot of dirt, right? And we're going to see if the grass is good at protecting the dirt, which is below it, from being eroded away, okay? And by the way, you may know that you can buy ready-made lawns, right? You can buy big pieces of grass to put in your yard, and it's called sod. Have you heard that? S-O-D, sod. So really what I have here is a big piece of sod. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have the dirt. I have dirt plus these ground up mulch, and then I have the grass here. And this is going to be my pretend rainstorm. And we're going to see what happens. And we're going to try to put enough water from rain into each of these bottles that it's going to run out and going to run into this cup, right? So let's watch and see how this works. So let me start my rain falling here. Okay, so it's falling on my dirt. Whoop, and I got some of it coming out now. Okay, it's going into my cup. Okay, so the rain is making quite a mess here, as you may or may not be able to see so easily. But I think that's enough rain for just the plain dirt. let's go to the mulch. And here's my rain falling on the mulch. And some water's going into the cup now. Okay, it's flowing in there. So I think that's about enough. Okay, so let's let that go. Okay, and now I'm going to do the rain on my grass. And here's the water going into the grass. And let's see if we got anything going into my cup yet. There we go. Now we got some going in. I think I'm going to change cups here. Okay, let's get another cup going here. Okay. So let's get a little more rain going into the grass. There we go. Now it's going. Okay, so now we have a chance to compare these, okay? So if I look at what happened when I put the water just onto the soil here, as you can see this cup, there's a lot of dirt that came through, okay? And that's indication of erosion, the movement of dirt because of the rain. And of course, if we had a really strong rainstorm, we would have moved a lot of dirt. Now let's look at the one with the mulch. Now you can see a little bit came through, but it certainly is an improvement, isn't it? You can see that? There's not much dirt there compared to here. So what would we say? We say certainly mulch does a very good job of protecting the soil from erosion, okay? And then finally the grass here. Now it's a little bit cloudy, but if you look, there's very, very little dirt in there, okay? Even though it's a little cloudy, there's very, very little dirt even compared to this one. There's quite a bit of dirt at the bottom, as you could see the bottom there. So we would say that both mulch and grass does a very good job of protecting against erosion. And here's the thing about mulch. After time, it actually will break up from weathering into smaller and smaller pieces, and pretty soon it won't do a good job anymore. You have to put more mulch on your yard. The grass is something that, as long as you're cutting it, it will last for a long, long, long time. So that's why most people in their yards will use grass to protect against erosion, and it looks nice, right? And do you have any idea why the grass is so good at protecting against erosion? Well, let me see if I can show it to you. Here's a piece of the grass I'm picking out here, and you can see there's a lot of dirt there, right, compared to the grass. And if you look very, very closely, you're going to see a lot of roots, right? There's more roots growing down into the earth than there is grass growing up above the earth. And it's all those roots that holds on to the dirt and makes it possible to protect against erosion, okay? So I think we did an interesting experiment here today where we showed how erosion or the movement of dirt from a rainstorm can be protected against using things like mulch or grass. Okay, I have a couple other experiments that I'm going to get prepared now, and I will come back on a second video and we'll keep talking about our weather and erosion experiments. Okay, see you in a little bit.